Man, I wish somebody would have told me the truth a long time ago. Nobody sat me down and say, look, this ain't that and that ain't this. I was deceived for so long. It's only right that I expose all this deception in the mighty name of Jesus.
Welcome to the podcast, Unpopular Truth. I am your host, Rudy Valentino. Today's title and focus is going to be on protecting the children. I feel as parents and as a former educator, as a husband, as a father, I feel like it's our responsibility and our obligation to protect our children. Society goes after children through marketing, propaganda, entertainment, pop culture, and media. And I feel like we don't often take the time to contemplate how serious it is and how malleable the children are, right? They're so impressionable. And this is why millions and billions of dollars are invested into trying to lure the children into certain trends, certain sounds, certain music. They understand that the children will be the future consumers, right? The children are the ones that's going to easily be programmed and susceptible to the agendas that they're trying to push. I feel like we got to do a better job. We got to take a stand for our children. Just recently, it's a lot of news out on kids being kidnapped in Ohio. And I actually did some further research, and it's a lot of people that's just coming up kidnapped and missing all around America. But when you see the commonality between the children that's abducted, it's like children who weren't supervised, children who were walking alone, children who were at parties coming back home, children who were walking the streets to the corner store or walking a pet by themselves. We have to supervise our children, right? We're not living in the same times that we once did. I can remember as a child going to the corner stores with my brothers and sisters or going, clothes shopping for apparel or shoes or hats with my cousins and my friends, and we were okay. But those were still very dangerous times to send children in a low-income neighborhood on public transportation with hundreds of dollars. That could have ended up bad. Coming home with bags full of clothes and items in your hands, that could have ended up bad. But praise God, it never did. But we're not in those times now. We got children who are less responsible, children who are less aware of their environment, right? Because they're so consumed by technology. And I feel like as parents, we got to do a better job of not only training, but preparing our children. So one thing that's really been on my spirit, my mind, is how as parents, we often feel that we have to give our kids what we didn't have. So a lot of times we end up living our best lives through our children's experience, right? And let me explain that, right? Let's say you were the child that grew up and you didn't have a lot of access to video games. What do? You overcompensate and you buy your child every video game. What happened if you were the child who didn't always get to go shopping and have the nicest or newest clothes? What do you do for your kids? You make sure they have the nicest and newest clothes. What happened if you were the child that always, wasn't always properly groomed with the maintenance such as hair, makeup, or just keeping up with good hygiene? You're going to overcompensate, and rightfully so in the hygiene department. But as far as you got to get a haircut every week. Oh, she has to get her hair done every week. No, that's not no. I think that's over the top. And a lot of times, again, we're trying to live our traumas or our lack of experience through our child's experience, and we try to overcompensate. Parents who didn't make it in sports, they can overdo it and push their kids too far, and that has good and bad outcomes. How can we restore? I'm all about solutions. How can we restore our child's experience, right? How can we ensure that our children grow up and become productive citizens and make a positive impact on the world? We don't always want our children to be like us. We want them to be better. We want them to go further. But how can that happen? And I think it starts at home. I think the first thing is starting at home with a healthy home structure and a healthy balance. So we know in lower income neighborhoods, most of the children are raised with single parent moms. So they already start off with an uphill battle. They're already starting off life in a negative spot. And I know we have our single mothers and single parent fathers that really try and really do all they can for their children. But, it takes two to have the children. It also takes two to raise the children. And I'm not just talking about co-parenting, where the father lives on one side of town or even down the street and the mom lives in another home and the child is swapping off 2-3 days here, 3 days here, every other week or every other weekend, every other month. Those things have cons and they have a little bit of benefit. just having a parent still active in your life, the other parent that's not spending the majority of the time with you, is still beneficial in some aspects, but not having both parents present in the home does affect a child. And we can't get around the scientific research, the scientific proof that psychologists and sociologists have put into this, right? There's all types of statistics that tell us that having both parents gives the child a better chance at having a successful and productive adult life. So parents should take time in choosing spouses, right? Choosing who you're going to mate with. I think mate selection, spouse selection are all important things that we don't necessarily take into consideration because we allow lust to lead us, right? A lot of us make a decision based on our desires or our lust for that night, and then we end up with the outcome of a child. And that child sometimes grows up in a broken home where the other parent is not there for whatever reason, or doesn't want to be there, present in the same home. So now this child is watching a mother who's balancing both, or trying to balance both roles of provider and nurturer, right? Provider, protector, and nurturer. And the other parent just becomes the fun parent. The parent that just buys gifts to make up for the love, or the other parent that tries to buy your time and buy your attention, or the other parent that is trying to compensate for not being there. Or we could have the healthy dynamic of co-parenting where both parents are balanced in both roles, but still the child does not have a consistent model or reminder of both parents in the home daily. They're not seeing the healthy role of a mom and wife. They're not seeing the healthy role of a dad and husband. So that creates trauma. That creates emotional damage. That creates self-esteem and confidence issues. That creates room for poor decision making later on in life. My solution for that, we have to do a better job of creating families. Not creating children, but creating families and standing behind our families. If you're going to put yourself in a position to where you can possibly have children, you should stay there and raise those children, because sex does have outcomes that can happen if you're going to participate in sex. Mothers, I don't put the blame on mothers necessarily. I think it's shared blame. I think it's men not being taught how to be men and how to take care of their responsibilities or to be there for the outcomes that they've created, right? And I think women have to do a better job of choosing who they're going to give themselves to and who they're going to commit themselves to, because raising children is a task for two that requires two and needs two in order for us to have a healthy product. It's what me and you or those or them produced, right? So we need to stand behind our product, and we need to put all that we can into our children so that they're prepared and ready for this world. Pop culture, the next area, pop culture and media. Pop culture, what do we see in pop culture? What seems to be big right now is females are selling sex, right? I mean, in music, movies, commercials, it seems like sex is being sold everywhere, from the skimpy outfits to the seductive apparel and physical appearance. They're dolled up to look attractive. They're dolled up to sell a product, right? So they're using sex as a means of selling products, to sell music, to sell entertainment, and to sell their goals or their talents. So instead of advertising what they're actually good at, the gift or the talent that was given by God, they're selling their bodies. They're selling this seductive persona, and we're buying it. The public is buying it, and it has success. That's why they put millions and billions of dollars into something that they know works. We're the only ones, the common folk. We don't understand how sex works with the subconscious, right? We don't understand what it communicates to the subconscious. But those who hire all these doctors and psychologists and sociologists behind their marketing and behind their advertising, they know what they're up to. They know what works. This is why on certain holidays or certain stores you can walk into and there's certain colors. Certain colors can trigger certain things. Certain sounds, right? Certain patterns and tempos within music can trigger certain hormones or certain thoughts or certain desires. It's a game that's being played around us, and we have to be prepared for it. We gotta be aware of what's going on. Look at what they're trying to sell kids, and I feel like if you want to date the same sex, that's your business, right? That's your desire. But should it be pushed on our children? No, I don't think so. And even if there are children that feel that that's them, or they feel, tempted or led to desire certain things, as parents, we still have an obligation to train our kids and to teach them the ways that would be productive spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and physically. We're responsible for that. So I have to guard my children. I can't just allow them to watch anything, right? I can't allow them to follow every trend just because it's on TV, or just because the government supports it, or just because our favorite A-list celebrity is pushing this agenda or standing behind this. Society has become robotic in the sense that no one has a individual personal opinion, right? And those that do, you're the outcast, you're the outlier, you're the oddball, you're the one that doesn't fit in and doesn't belong to society and shouldn't be here. You're the weirdo, you're the creep, you're the hater, you're the one that lacks love and compassion for other people. In a land where we're supposed to be free, freedom of speech, freedom of thought, then why are you trying to convince me? Why are you trying to force feed me things that I don't want for my children? Why are you bombarding me with every commercial, with every cartoon, with every movie? See, we're going to do a future podcast on the idea of inclusion, because there's a lot of deception within inclusion. I just find it strange that inclusion only focuses on certain groups and not all groups that need to be inclusive or included. Because to me, it seems like homosexuality is pushed in everything. Is that the only marginalized group or group that doesn't get attention or love or respect? Is that the only group that feels outcast in the world? Is that the only group we feel has no power, no voice, no place in society, so we have to overcompensate? Is that the only group? This is all a part of the programming, right? I saw this as my last year as a teacher. Things that young boys wouldn't necessarily do when I was a child, things that men wouldn't do when I was a child, things that men wouldn't wear when I was a child, is now becoming acceptable. The lines have been blurred. Can we say, and can we honestly sit here and say that it's for the group? No, it's not for the group. It's never about, the government has never cared about people. America doesn't care about its citizens. America cares about its goals, its agendas. America's going to look out for America's best interests. Not my interests, not your interests, but its better interests. And if that means that some got to get railroaded on the way, that's what's going to happen. And what about music? We talked about the women pushing sex in almost everything now, right? Even in the churches. Even in the religious places, people are still pushing sex. But what about the men? The men are pushing promiscuity. The men are pushing sex. The men are pushing drugs and alcohol and violence. The men are pushing irresponsibility. Go to girl, go from house to house. The lifestyles that are being perpetuated on mainstream media, on the social sites, on, the new movies, the new cartoons, and the things that really target the minority commercials. I'm going to say overall, media is polluted, pop culture is polluted. But it seems to me that there's some things that's trickled down, or that focuses or puts emphasis on certain communities. I don't see a lot of positive minority shows. I don't see a lot of positive two-parent household, strong, educated, intellectual, passionate, caring, loving, warming, minority, family-based cartoons, TV shows, or movies. I don't see it. There's always a backspin. Someone's cheating on someone. Someone's selling drugs. Someone's a part of a gang. Somebody's plotting to steal or rob or kill. There's always a twist. Every race has a balance of good and evil. Every race has the ones that they look up to and the ones that they despise. Every culture has that group of people that they can identify with by other identical categories, right? But they can say, although we look similar, we don't align in thoughts, we don't align in beliefs, we don't align in morals, we don't align with our perception of reality. So as we protect our children, where's the monitoring of the devices that we place in their hands? Why aren't there safety locks on the phone? Or why aren't we putting internet restrictions and certain restrictions on the phone, on the internet, in the Wi-Fi in the home? Why aren't we monitoring who they call, who they talk to, in the services that are provided by the technology that we have within our homes or in our reach? Why are children in a room with a device to their face or under the covers without social or personal interaction with adults or other human interaction? Some of these kids feel more comfortable with a cell phone, texting and calling, than they do actually having a face-to-face conversation. Does that not affect the employment rate? Does that not affect the social skills? Does that not affect how we interpret others and how we also handle our own emotions? Does that affect our communication skills? Does that affect our relationships and our parenting and our relationship building? Well, one may say, how does it affect employment? Well, simple. Children who are more prone or more comfortable to talk to or talk via text or via cell phone or via internet versus actual face-to-face interaction, they're not going to be able to conduct themselves really well in interviews. They're not going to be able to manage their anger or their frustrations or their concerns. We have children who are being raised to be passive. And I'm not saying to be aggressive, but you need to be vocal. You need to be able to express yourself in a healthy way. You need to be able to communicate your thoughts clearly. You need to be able to articulate your goals and your aspirations clearly. It's survival of the fittest in the real world. The real world isn't gummy bears, rainbows, and marshmallows. You've never seen a unicorn in real life. It just doesn't exist. So we got to prepare our children for reality. We got unrealistic expectations. Sports, everybody's a winner. Everybody played well. Everybody did good. Everybody gets a participation trophy. We don't call things the way they are anymore. There's no losing teams. There's no team with a losing record. We've worded it in such a way that no one's offended and everybody's excited, but we don't see much improvement. We don't see a true hunger. We don't see a true passion. We don't see a desire and a determination to get better, to go further. To reward someone for minimum effort is outrageous. It doesn't make sense. It's not the reality of the real world. When you don't perform at a job, there's write-ups, there's protocol to get you removed from your position and replaced. An unproductive worker doesn't last. Unless there's the exception to the rule that you know so-and-so who knows so-and-so that's messing with so-so, or that's related to so-and-so, but that's not for everybody, and that's not for most people. The reality is you have to work for the results that you desire. It's not handed to you. It is not given to you because you're nice, because you're pretty, because you're cute, because you're handsome. It's not given to you just because you're a part of it or because you participated. That's not the reality of life. What about discipline? Do we even discipline children anymore? We got different forms of discipline. We got parents that say, well, I'm just going to talk. I'm not going to touch. We got other forms where we say, well, we're going to physically touch, but we don't often try verbally communicating. I think it's a balance. It depends on the child and the personality of the child. Some children need to be physically touched in order to get in line. Verbal communication doesn't work for that child. Taking things away and restricting access to certain things that they like doesn't affect that child. It makes them more stubborn. It makes them more prideful. I'm not saying abuse. I'm not saying get a bat. I'm not saying get a stick. I'm not saying punch. I'm not saying slap. But some kids gotta be disciplined. Give them a nice little pat on the tushy. Give them a nice little pop. Pop the leg a little bit. Let them know that you mean business. Some children you can talk to. Some children you can take things away. Some children you can ground and restrict access to technology such as video games, TV, computers, and it'll hit a soft spot with them. And you'll see different results. But for the children that's not moved or fascinated with those things necessarily, it doesn't work. Those kids, they need a little bit of hard love. They're going to need some firmness in your voice. They're going to need some firm redirecting. They're going to need some reinforcement, some reminding of what your expectations are. Children lack respect. Children lack the comprehension of what a punitive or corrective punishment is. You know, when I was a school teacher and I would tell kids, you're going to fail. It's like, what's failing? I'm going to get passed anyway. You didn't do what you needed to do to get better to make this team. It's okay. They created a B team. I could play on the B team. I don't have to be on the A team. You didn't study for this exam. You're not going to be able to go on the field trip. It's okay. My mom said I can stay home anyway. We're running into a society that doesn't provide any type of reinforcement, any type of structure to encourage or to reverse the behaviors of certain children or people. We don't have anything in place for those who don't want to comply with being productive. I've seen it at the school system. I've seen it by parents. When children are disrespecting adults, when children are comfortable hitting, cussing, spitting at, taking from, wrestling with adults, with no thought of what comes next, with no thought of respect, no thought of this is an elder and I'm a child, we're in some very difficult and hard times in society. Things are taking a turn for the worst. But where does it start? It starts at home. Who usually provides the discipline is the father. That's what has been known in the past. The father's disciplined. The mother's nurtured. The mother did the talking. The dad did the handling. And it worked. Because even though the physical touch or the physical interaction took place, the mom was there to soften the blow. Now we got moms, single parent moms that work so much, they don't have time to discipline. They're so tired of repeating themselves, they don't have time to correct or to repeat. They're tired, they're frustrated. So the discipline that you do get, it might be abusive. It might be over the top. It might be an overreactive response. That's what it might be. That's a part of the programming. The system that told us we were okay. It's the system that told us don't hit, don't correct, don't chastise. But yet we have the police. They do all that. You hear that? We have the police and they'll do all that. Plus some. I don't want to wait for my children to be corrected by the police. I don't want to wait for my children to be corrected by a justice system. I don't want to wait for my child to be corrected by a job that they can't hold on to. I want to teach them life lessons now. I want to prepare them for situations like that later on in life. So when they run across those situations, they'll know how to communicate. They'll know how to conduct themselves. And prayerfully, they'll correct themselves and won't need the assistance of others to correct their actions. And prayerfully, if they do something wrong, they'll be able to self-reflect and change course. What about honesty? We want our children to be honest, but are we honest as parents? Is society honest? Does the government always tell us the truth? Does the media always tell us the truth? Do our doctors and policemen always tell us the truth? Does social media tell the truth? We're in a society where living a lie has become reality. They've perfected the art of persuasion and manipulation. They've perfected the art of deception and manipulation. Nothing is ever what it seems in reality. Yet we ask ourselves, why is it that our children lie so easily? How is it that they can look us in our eyes and lie to us so easily? Because we've given them access to a reality created by technology, societal pressures and norms, trends, propaganda. We've put this device in their hands where they have free access to it. We don't monitor the company that they keep, the friends that they talk to. So they're hearing and witnessing all types of things from the inner circle. And then we expect for them to be angels. Parenting actually requires us to parent. Supervision, guidance, love, protection, monitoring, support, and discipline. We also got to be the role models of what we expect from our children. In order to protect these children, in order to lead and make productive children, we got to be better adults. We got to create a better society. We got to create a better environment for them. The children are the future. The question is, do you know that? Millions and trillions and billions is poured into marketing and advertising, and they're going after the children. How much time and effort are you putting into your own children? How much effort and time are you putting into the children that you come in contact with? Are you perpetuating a lie, a reality influenced by persuasion, manipulation, and deception? Or are you walking in integrity? Are you walking with morals? Are you the change? Are you modeling the change? Are you modeling the proper steps for those children to be productive, that look up to you? Till next time, folks, be blessed.